This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrath. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
BTL, coming at you!
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Coming off one of the big, like one of the most well-known kind of veterans in the industry. Yesterday, we went 2 full hours with president of Bass Cat Boats and Yarcraft, Rick Pierce. I'd be interested in talking to him about the other side, Yarcraft. We got off air. I was like, hey, has there ever been like a commercially marketed brush boat? You got all these guys, I don't know, maybe that's too much of a niche thing, but like, you know, I got my buddy like Jared Miller, and you talk to all these guys who are good and on TVAs and all these fisheries where they're dumping brush. Now you can get into the, you know, in Oklahoma, I think it's legal now, but you have to like announce that you do it with the Corps. You can't cut wood from the bank there. Then you have to like, I guess, legally show where you dumped the brush, which then kind of defeats the purpose. But anyway, I wonder if the market would be big enough for like a, hey, you are a bass angler. Here is a pontoon type boat that is specifically designed, marketed, and sold to you to sink brush, instead of having guys that are MacGyvering their brush boats and doing all sorts of different stuff with pulleys and hydraulics and things like that. I know some of the DNRs, I think Oklahoma's DNR has one that actually it's like it goes and then the brush slides off of it into the water. But I don't know. Just a thought that I had. Market's probably not big enough for that. Before we get into today's show, I do want to mention Mark did a Mark After Dark last week. He came back. He's all fired up about the SNU bowling program, talking about literally he's like, oh, I'm in Iowa doing a recruiting trip, and he's getting like these. He's going into the high schools. Here's what Mark's doing, because he's trying to start this SNU bowling program as the head coach. Mark Jeffries, who co-hosted the show, started the show 18 years ago, just in case you're a new listener. He's going in and he's doing like the football thing where he's like going into class and like pulling the kid out of class and giving him like the SNU bowling hat and jersey and all that stuff. So like, I mean, this is a kid who like he's like a bowling kid. And now everyone else, you know, everyone's like, oh, this is super cool. They're pulling him out of class. So he's getting some commitments. But anyway, outside of the commitment, they have a lot of expenses, a lot of stuff over at SNU. And he put on the front page of BassZone.com, for those of you that haven't been there, just BassZone.com, a way to give a pledge or a donation pledge, and then get 2 HDS 12s valued at over $6,000 for it. So just click on the link on BassZone.com if you have any interest in that. If you're looking for some new graphs, there might be a way that you can do some tax deductions for a donation to the university and kill 2 birds with 1 stone and get your graphs. So, all right, today's show. it's cool to watch a career start, right? Like I vividly remember watching Jordan Lee like idol out in the national championships, like in person, and guys being like, hey, this is it, this is the guy right here. Like, you don't get an opportunity to see that. And I think that over the last couple years, we've seen a career start from a guy that's going to be around for a long time. And obviously it's like fishing. It's kind of hard to tell like what happens in fishing. Like, you're one bite away from being the hero a lot of the times. But Tristan McCormick has put himself in position to win and be successful enough times over the past 2 or 3 years that I don't see that ending anytime in the near future. What's up, Tristan?
What's going on, buddy?
Thanks for jumping on BTL today.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's always a good time to get on here and BS around, talk about bass fishing, what's new in the world, what's not. And, a lot of guys can take a learning experience from these. And, I watch a lot of podcasts, so it's always fun. I love getting on them.
Yeah, it's I'm kind of dating myself now. It's hard to believe I've been doing this long enough. Like the Lee brothers and all that were like a generation kind of after me. Like, I was kind of around that first generation. Then even after me, we're talking like the Clint Davises and the Brandon Cards, and even like my buddy who fished, Chip Porcher. He made the Elite Series for a year, but it's just a whole different animal now. And there's enough collegiate events and enough collegiate circuits that as you kind of progress in it, you can kind of pick out, it's not just like a national championship. You can kind of pick out like the teams and the guys that are going to stick around for a while.
Yeah, for sure. And as big as the collegiate side's getting, and even the high school side, you look at the high school. When I was fishing high school, there's probably 100, 125 boats, and now there's 300 plus in the national championship. So, this younger generation, they're hungry. In the college side of things, I fished 5 years, and, there's a bunch of hammers out there. And, it's just guys like me that love to bass fish. That's what we dedicate ourselves to, our time, our money. And, and to better yourself, the only way to get better is spend hours and hours and hours on the lake, behind your units, casting. I mean, there's just so much to it. And this younger generation, man, they're hungry for it for sure.
I want to get right into this. So you're a Bethel dude. You ran the Bethel Wrap because you won the bracket series over a year ago now with the Bassmaster College Series. Wrap the boat, wrap the truck. I remember actually like walking. You remember right after you got the truck, we were down in Florida.
Yeah.
And you were like, dude, they just like dropped it off and we're like, here you go. And you had like the brand new wrap boat, the brand new wrap truck, and you were just trying to figure out how everything worked and get comfortable. And that seems like years ago now, but that was just earlier this year up in Florida.
Yeah, it flew by, and we was at Toho. We was at Toho, and I was like, dude, I can't even figure out how to back this thing up. Like, I had the boat on, it was locking the trailer up. I was like, what is going on?
I remember I came over and looked at it. It's still crazy to me. So I guess that's one of the deals that you get when you win the bracket. You get your entry fees paid for all 9 of the Bassmaster Opens. You get a spot in the Bassmaster Classic. So right there is $26,000, $16,200 for open entries plus $10,000. You get kind of put through the ringer with the dynamic Toyota deal and everything that comes with that, and Alan McGuckin and those guys over who have done it with the best in the business with dynamic. So that's an invaluable experience. And then you get to go on the road too. That's a hell of a deal, man. It
is. And, people really don't know how much that means to a college kid that just graduated like me. And, entry fees and expenses are probably the two most expensive things that we do. And, a dynamic, they gave me a brand new truck, 2022 Tundra, bad to the bone, a brand new boat provided by Bass Pro, a Nitro Z20, and $7,500, all entry fees paid for, like you said, and the classic spot. I mean, that's something nobody can ever take away from me. And, you're guaranteed $10,000 for last place in the classic. So, just you look at the numbers and the opportunities, it's just amazing what kind of platform that Bassmaster offers for us younger kids.
All right. So everyone talks about, oh, you get in through the bracket or whatever, but I don't think there's a lot of people who actually understand the process to which they were like, hey, here's the boat, here's the truck, here's the entry fees, and you're in the classic. So, and I'm not even sure if I understand it anymore, because back, when I fished collegiately, it was just like, send your teams, you make the national championship, go get them. There was like 36 teams in my last national championship on the Arkansas River. So you start out with your team, and then your team qualify. And I know it's kind of changing just a little bit as it goes, but this is the general way that you got there, right? It's just step by step. Start out with Bethel, join the Bethel team. You're in college, then you you fish in the regional, right?
Yeah, fish in the regional. I got to finish top 20%, which qualifies you for the national championship.
Okay.
Then you go to the national championship. I think there was 170 boats in the national championship on the St. Lawrence River, and you got to finish top 3 or better, first, second, or third to qualify. And this was a new rule they did when I qualified for the bracket. Team of the year automatically gets the spot. So
really?
Yeah. So if you win team of the year in the regional events, boom, you're locked into the bracket. So it gets harder because, if you don't win team of the year, there goes another spot. So now you got even less chance to make it. So first, second, or third, we got second at the national championship. And then a month and a half, usually 2 months later, we go to a different lake, which is where the bracket is held. And there's 4 teams, 8 guys. There's 2 guys on each team. So there's 8 of us, and we all split up, and it's a 1v1 bracket elimination each day until the last guy is standing. So 4 days of competition. You beat the guy you're up against, you move on to the next. You beat the guy, and yada, yada, yada. The last one standing, is the winner.
Was that deal okay, I'm vividly remember it. Was that deal at the Alabama River in the current where like Edwin had fished before you guys went there?
Yeah, below Jordan Dam.
Did you start out like smashing them, or did the guy you were up against start smashing them and you had to make a comeback? There was something weird that happened, I think, on the final day.
Yeah, so the final day, it was me and Tucker Smith. Tucker's an animal, they're fishermen, and he's only like 20 years old, so you're going to see him a lot in the future of the sport. But we both started at the dam, and I was seed 1 and he was seed 2. So they seed us, back up a little bit, they seed us before the tournament starts. So basically we go out and practice, but we keep our 5 biggest fish, and we come back and weigh them in. And the guy that has the biggest bag, seed 1, the guy that has the smallest bag, seed 8. So the first day it's seed 1 versus seed 8, and then seed 2 versus seed 7. So long story short, it was me and Tucker left. We seed 1 and seed 2, and every day we was fishing below Jordan in the current, and we was both whacking them each day. But the final day, I got to watch a show. I got to watch a beatdown happen, and Tucker ran off with it. He caught 2 big ones right off the rip. I was like, ooh, this is not good. I lost 2 or 3 nice ones, and at the break, it was like he had 10-something pounds, and I had like 3. So it was a 7-pound deficit, and I was like, I've got to make something happen. And I ran around because, I got tired of watching him catch them, so I left, and I probably shouldn't have left, but went and ran some other stuff, didn't take a bite, and come back up there after the period, or at the break period. And, man, there was literally, like, if you go watch live, there was a 32-minute window where it was just boom, 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 boom. And I caught 11 pounds something, and I ended up beating Tucker by 3 ounces. So, and that's another funny story, 3 ounces. That's kind of like my hit or miss. Could be glory, could be terrible. Lost the national championship by 3 ounces. Won the bracket by 3 ounces. At Oneida, I missed the top 10 cut by 3 ounces. So the 3-ounce curse is, it could go either way for me.
Well, isn't Tucker the dude who won the $1 million in Johnny Morris's tournament? And then didn't he win like every single high school national championship that he fished in?
Yep, that's him.
So he fished the Opens this year. I remember seeing him, and he cashed a check. He was 23rd at Hartwell. Is he going to be? He's going to be dominant. I mean, he's 20 years old now. Is he the next one coming up?
Yeah, I could say you're definitely going to see a lot of Tucker. He's a very talented kid, and he was very fortunate. He got to spend a lot of time with Aaron Martin. So, there's no telling what Aaron taught him. So he's kind of like one of those spinning rod guru kids. He's really good with his electronics. He came out with that with Picasso, his ball head
Yeah.
for Demicki rigging. He just released that. So, to be
Tucker
that
did?
young. Yeah, Tucker did.
Oh, he's already doing tackle?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, to be that young and to already, have your face on a bait, that's pretty stout.
Um All right, I'm trying to figure out where I want to go from here. So we've talked a little bit about the college stuff. Let's stick with this. So we've always talked about we've talked about Bethel, Dallas Baptist, McHenry. There's just a couple schools that seem to really excel. Auburn, some schools that really seem to excel when it comes to collegiate bass fishing. I've glossed this over a lot of the times by just saying, "Oh, they're good. They get the guys." You've seen the inner workings of the dynasty. I mean, Bethel is a bass fishing dynasty. Why? Why? What are the inner workings on that? What makes Bethel produce A-level talent for the past decade?
So I'll say a couple things. When I first got here as a freshman, I noticed right away there was guys from all over the country, up north, down south, Midwest, California, just all over the place. And, I look back and the relationships we had with each other, not just here at school, but like on the road, we learned off of each other. And when you're out here on Kentucky Lake back in the glory days and we're all slinging top waters and traps and, looking at our maps like, why are they sitting here? Why are they doing this? And you got in the boat 3 or 4 guys not from Kentucky Lake. And they're like, oh, let's go over here to this little place. This looks like something back home. And we pull over there and jack them. And you're like, I've never even made a cast here before. Why would I even fish this? And then you start talking to each other and just like brainstorming basically. And the biggest thing is you learn off of each other more than anything. And Bethel has, like I said again, kids from all over the United States. And when we travel, we always helped each other. We always kind of broke down a lake together. Instead of just, you got 10 boats there and everybody's just all for themselves, not saying anything. Well, I'm going to send you on a wild goose chase. I'm catching them on a plopper going down bluffs or whatever. And then you go do it and don't take a bite. But that's back to the relationship side of things. When you form those relationships and you can trust everybody on the team, I mean, you're gonna do great as a whole. If me and Stevie didn't do good, Cole and Carter might have picked us up, or John and Brian Paul. It was just always somebody up there, and a lot of times those guys can look back and be like, well, Tristan helped me with this, or or Carter and Cole helped me with that. So, that's the cool part of it. I think that's why kind of we excel. And I mean, of course, the talent. I mean, you got the Cole Floyds, the Cody Huffs, the
So
Carter.
how do they find those? Is it you had one kid that was good at Bethel, or did they start offering scholarships, or was there a coach that was super aggressive? Like, I mean, how does that talent all end up at one school and not get dispersed?
So there for a while, like coach would kind of listen to us, like, hey, you need to go after this kid, or this kid. I went to high school with this kid, and he's a freaking hammer. But you look back, Bethel was the first school to offer a scholarship for bass fishing, and that's when Dewey Sims was there. Cody, Zach Parker, those guys are legends here at Bethel, and Zach Parker should have won the bracket the first year they had it. He pulled up on his final place, the final day, and there was 2 local guys catching him every cast because they've sitting there and watched him. But, back in the day is really where I think why we all wanted to come to Bethel was because of Zach Parker, Dewey Sims, Cody, and all those guys, because they were
Cody
like,
Huff?
no, Cody.
No.
No, this was way before Cody Huff. Dewey Sims, Zach Parker, Cody Ross.
Okay.
So Cody and Zach, like, dude, I can remember them. Like, I can vividly recall them catching like 42 pounds in a bass tournament, and I think it's still like in the top 3 biggest.
And you're
bass.
like how old at the time? Like 14?
Yeah, like 13, 14, 12, and just looking back and like seeing that, the talent that was already there, and this was like before like all the big electronics come out. Like back then, I think it was a Gen 1's Lowrances that were, the top of the class back then.
Mm-hmm.
So, to see those guys doing it with what they had, I mean, it was truly amazing. But, back to the question, I think that's the biggest reason why Bethel has such a name in the sport for my group. I guess you can say my generation, my age group, because we got to watch those guys, our idols back in the day, dominate the college field.
Okay, so like you're a kid, so like if you're into golf, you're like watching the guys. If you're into, like I was into hockey, right? So I like watched Paul Correa for the University of Maine. Wanted to go to the University of Maine because of Paul Correa, which is totally bizarre and weird, but I did. So that's how when you were, this is important because when you were that age, college fishing was already established enough, already had a big enough of following. There's social media that was around, right? Like, I mean, that was active. And they did a good enough job to get you hooked to where when you were that young, you knew for 3 or 4 years, this is what I want to do, and I want to do what these guys do at the place that they want to do it. Just like you have kids who are in high school that want to play ball at OU or want to play ball at Kentucky or want to play ball anywhere else. Same exact thing with you fishing with Bethel.
Yeah, for sure. And, I've said this a couple times, my biggest thing, throughout this whole program this year, was to leave footsteps and to show to the younger generation that it can be done, even if you don't grow up in a fishing family, because my family knows absolutely nothing about the sport of bass fishing. I did this all on my own, and, I just want to prove to the younger generation, if you have goals, if you have something in mind, go chase them. It don't matter what your background is, how much you know about it. If you set your mind to something, you can 1,000% go accomplishment, because I'm living proof of it.
Wow. So that was the original Zach Parker, Drew Sims, Cody Ross. I've never actually like dove into this, so I'm kind of interested in this. So then other names. So then obviously you have John Garrett, right?
Cody Huff.
Okay, Cody Huff.
KJ Queen.
Oh, I keep forgetting that KJ went there.
Yep.
Holy cow.
Cole Floyd too.
He's on the BPT. Like he had like one of the craziest years last year ever for a rookie.
Yep. Just think of it this way, Matt. There's this year at Knoxville, there's going to be 3 Bethel University alumni guys there
in the Classic.
Me, KJ, and Cody.
Okay, who else am I missing out of here? We have you, John Garrett, Cody Huff, KJ Queen, Cole Floyd. I know once you start naming names, it's a slippery slope. So if we leave out someone, no offense, but I mean, you're talking about a dynasty here. I mean, this is like naming Alabama running backs, Tristan. Like seriously.
Yeah. So Garrett Enders is one of them. I was actually with him yesterday. We was brushing a couple duck blinds, but Garrett he's got a very, very high high school back in the day. Like he dominated high school. Let's see who else. Yeah,
as far as on tour.
Oh, Garrett's not on tour.
No, but I meant, is there anyone else and is there anyone on the team now that's like following you? That's having success?
Yeah, there's several guys.
That's freaking crazy, man. Let me show this. So this is another thing, and I wonder, this is MapQuest here. I don't know why it's showing the Chick-fil-A. It is showing the Chick-fil-A though. So there it is right there. So like you're right by Kentucky Lake, right?
Yep.
So this is basically the area here. This is Tennessee.
Yeah.
But I don't think people realize like right there is Wheeler. Right here is all of the TVA stuff. Then you go to Nashville and you have all of the Tennessee stuff.
Yep.
you come down here and you've got Ross Barnett, all the Mississippi stuff, all the Alabama stuff. You're not terribly far from the East Coast stuff as far as the blueback lakes and all that. Like when it comes to a location for a bass fishing school, probably Bethel is also 1A on top of that.
Yeah, for sure. And, when I was first there, that's when Kentucky Lake was in its prime. That's when we had all the grass. The ledge schools were 7 miles long. Really, really amazing. It was the number one lake in the country for several years. And, to be able to get out of class at 2 or 3, 4 o'clock and drive 30 minutes to Kentucky Lake and go catch 100 bass in an evening on a topwater. I mean, what more could you ask for? And you learn so much from Kentucky Lake. It's like 180 miles long. And then we was about a good 3 hours really from, just say 4 hours, a good 4 hours from any of our TVA lakes, from Gunnersville to Wheeler.
Yeah, but that's not far, man. I mean, I'm 12 hours from them in Oklahoma. Yeah. All the other schools, you go to them, and it's such a freaking learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know this too, Matt. I mean, how much is there to be learned on a Tennessee River chain?
You can learn everything. I mean, dude, look at the number of guys that have made their entire careers that cut their teeth on the TVA. You learn current, you learn grass, you learn rock, you learn all 3 species. You learn how the fish set up. You learn about flow. You learn about man-made structure, top waters, like cranking. Like that's why the TVA system kicks out so many talented anglers, is because it's incredibly versatile. And if you're from outside of the TVA, like we've seen, like, that's kind of where Seth Fighter finally first struggled. And we're like, dude, if that guy could figure out and then once he figured it out, the dude is an absolute animal now. Like that's where a lot of guys struggle, either Florida or the TVA. And we're finding that the northern guys don't struggle in Florida because they can apply a lot of the same grass techniques. So where do you struggle then? You struggle on the TVA fisheries if you're not from there and don't understand it. And it seems like there's something that clicks, and once it clicks, and then the schedule too. Like, I mean, you're dealing with 30-40% of the schedule in most years, because that's the heart, that's the heart of where Bass and MLF have a lot of their derbies.
Yeah, for sure. And the Tennessee chain's so long, it goes miles and miles and miles. And like you said, like me, I've learned how to fish up north on, the St. Lawrence River due to, the current situation here on the Tennessee River, because there's a lot of current, smallmouth related current. Everybody knows that. And then I could take those tools that I've learned here in my backyard and drive 20 hours to New York and catch them the same way.
But didn't you do that deal where you just went off the grid for a month or two when you knew you had a bunch of derbies coming up north and just literally lived on the St. Lawrence for a month and a half?
Yeah, I was, in the last 2 summers, I've had 6 months up there.
That's the entire summer, by the way. That's like their entire season.
But, you look at it this way, for a fact, whether it's MLF or Bass, they're going up north. That's just chalk it up, write it down. And for me, I felt like that's where I would struggle. And that's why I spent the time, I dedicated the time up there. I lived at campgrounds literally for months. And I just went out there and learned Ontario, St. Lawrence, Champlain, Oneida. Like, those were the lakes I fished. And they're all very unique in a different way. Champlain's big forward-facing sonar plays, big top water. St. Lawrence, drifting, of course. Oneida, structure, rock piles. And Ontario is just it's the best thing on God's earth. What more could you ask for than giant smallmouth, and you can go catch 30 pounds of brown ones? Like, pretty insane.
It's nuts. We got to take a break. Before we do, I want to get in. I don't think people realize your stats this year. When you combine, you fished a ton. When you combine, was that all you did this year? Was fish? Like, that's what no other job or anything. You just started. You're
throwing all the towels in. Yep.
Okay. So you fished 8 of the 9 opens. You had one that conflicted with a Toyota, and you're in position points-wise with the Toyota, which is what we're going to talk about after break. But you fished 8 opens, 7 Toyotas, a Toyota championship, and 2 BFLs. So roughly 20 major events over the course of the year, which, I mean, a lot of back to back to back. Like numerous times I'd be like on social media after you got yours back after getting hacked, which had to suck. But I'd be like, holy cow, he's fishing another derby. And then, you have a good day but you don't really think about it. So you fish in the Classic this year. And then you did 8 of the Opens, 7 Toyotas, a championship. You did $67,237 with Bass, and total you did $93,196. Now the Classic was a $10,000 check, but this was not like $100,000 payouts, $10,000 check stuff. This was $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 checks, and a lot of them you hit a $50K lick there, obviously with winning the Open on Hartwell. But to do $100K in AAA events and fish in the Bassmaster Classic and qualify for the MLF Invitationals and qualify for the 2023 Bassmaster Classic is one of the most impressive, what I would say, AAA seasons that I can remember in recent history.
Yeah, now that you say it like that, I hadn't thought of it like that. I can look back on the year though and just, things that really stand out, whether it was decisions or of course like winning Hartwell. Man, it's just been a crazy ride for my first season, and I'm excited to see what comes out of this, going further into the future, because this is what I want to do. I don't want to work a five a day week job, 7 to 8 or whatever. This is what I love to do, and I'm going to chase it. I might go bankrupt trying, but I'm not going to let nothing stand in my way. And of course, like I said, this is the end goal. Just like Matt, we all love the sport of bass fishing. These little green creatures, we drive all over the country for them, and they can make us cry or they can make us cry of joy. So it's been an amazing year. I'm just excited to see what happens. I'm really excited about the Classic though on the Old Tennessee River.
How much time have you spent on that stretch of water?
It's been
like enough to where you expect to do well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I expect out of myself.
Well, I mean, you don't have to go and like learn it. It's not like totally foreign to you. Like, what you're getting into, which is the biggest hurdle in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
And you've experienced a Classic before.
Mm-hmm.
Anything short of a Super 6 disappointing for you in the Classic? Obviously you want to win everything, but I mean, realistically.
My goal is to have a chance the final day. And I'm just going to set the goal, to make the third day. If I'm in 24th, 22nd, whatever, I feel like truly it's a tough fishery. I feel like if you have a chance the final day, if you make the final day, you have a chance.
Yeah.
Because there's 20 pound swimming in there everywhere, but they're not hard. They're not easy to get to bite.
Yeah. Dude, here's a weird thing, and I just thought about this too. We seem to like run into each other a lot on the water. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
And when I ran into you at where I power pulled down for 7 hours and never moved at Chesapeake Bay, we kind of came into it. We were fishing the same stretch of docks, and I ran into you, and you were like, this is just amazing how crazy and quickly things can change. You weren't having fun. You did not want to be on the Chesapeake Bay fishing that row of docks at the time. You were ready to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
You had realized at that point, hey, you hadn't top 10 anything. You were out of it in the points for the overall. You were there because you were the Bethel representative for the Carhartt Bassmaster, or was it Strike King?
Yeah, Strike
Bassmaster College Series. And you were ready to get the hell out and go up to the Toyota Series up north, where you had not done or qualified for anything either. And if you hadn't caught him up there, you're right back where he started the following year, right?
Yeah.
So since that, you go up, you top 10 in the Toyota Series, you make the Invitationals. then you come back and you win and you top 5 the last 2 opens. So in that month and a half span, you qualify for one of the major tours, you win a Bassmaster Open, you make $60,000, and you qualify for the 2023 Classic in your backyard. Like, you would never have known that when you're just sitting there at Chesapeake Bay going, this frickin' sucks.
You know, dude, I never thought of it that way. Yeah, I remember I could about replay that whole 3 hours right there. That whole.
Oh, dude, you were miserable. I turned to my co-angler and I was like, Tristan is not enjoying himself right now.
Dude, and it's like 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it was early.
I'm just ready to leave. But, you know, that's crazy, man. I mean, I truly didn't even think of it like that. And, you know, that's where it all started.
When was that?
Oh, gosh.
Hold on, I'm looking up the standings. I'm trying to figure out because all of this happened after that, right?
I'm pretty sure that was in August at Upper Bay.
Yeah, hold on.
The St. Lawrence was like the first week of September.
2022 opens.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
September 10th. So between September 10th and November 1st, so that's literally, that's 80 days, dude. Like, that's crazy how much happened in your life and your career in a month time.
Yeah, I mean, that's just insane.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about your plans for the future, for 2023 and beyond. Obviously, being in the mix in the final day of the Bassmaster Classic is there, but you've got some decisions to make. I think you've been on a couple other podcasts. You've kind of mentioned what you were going to do, but I'm going to kind of push you on it, man. I want to dive into the decision making. It's BTL on a Tuesday with two-time Bassmaster Classic qualifier Tristan McCormick. We'll be back right after this.
Your key to better fishing this season is Elite FS, now available at a new lower price. Get Elite FS9 today for $9.99, and we'll throw in a C-Map reveal chart, our premium mapping solution, for free. Elite FS works with all state-of-the-art Lowrance sonar, from chirp, side scan, and down scan imaging with fish reveal to high-resolution active target live sonar. Elite FS9 and C-Map reveal. Offer ends August 31st.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Hey guys, Gerald Swindle representing the AFCO Hydronaut. This is the jacket I love wearing when times is tough, and I'm talking about the weather, not the fishing. The jacket, what I like, I got a double cup right here. I can seal up the bottom of my jacket because when you're fishing, you're holding your arms up. You're bad about getting water, it runs downhill. Everything bends good. I'm long arm. Look, it fits very comfortable. My arms is flexible. I've got the speed hood on, pouring down rain. I can get everything zipped up. One thing they did is they made plenty of pocket space. If you ain't got enough pockets in the Hydronaut rain suit, you just got too much stuff. From the water membrane, that's 30K, baby. 30 times the reason you ain't gonna get wet. Super warm. If it's cold in the wintertime, you put on your Hydronaut, you're gonna be a much more comfortable person. If you don't want to just look sexy at Dairy Queen, wear your Hydronaut. We got it from small to 5X. Most rain gear does not come in that many sizes. You got waist adjusting straps. We can make it fit you. No matter what the environment is, we want you to be comfortable. We want you to be dry. You gotta check it out. It ain't gonna let you down.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. Tie one on. Striking lures.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? Well, the Bass Tank is here to help you. The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Welcome back, BTL. It is a Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's Tuesday. BTL on a Tuesday, November 15th with Tristan McCormick. Do you think there's a clutch gene in fishing? Like, were you really good at other sports? Were you always the guy who could sink the free throw or like that? Or so listen, there's two sides of it. There's a clutch gene. There's guys who are just destined to be great. They're going to make the right decisions, and when they have that opportunity, they're going to rise to it on the final day. There are guys who are pessimistic and they wilt under pressure, and they'll never be able to succeed because they can't handle it. And then there's the thought, which is where I sit in the middle, which is if you give yourself enough opportunities to succeed and do things right, eventually it will come to fruition. Where do you sit under that? Do you believe in any of that stuff? Because I mean, you're pretty clutch right now. It looks like.
Yeah, I definitely think there's something to that. Growing up, like I feel like I can handle pressure really well because flashback to my younger years when I wasn't bass fishing. I grew up riding horses all over the country. I did team penning and ranch sorting. If anybody has any idea what that is, but I grew up.
Is that like Yellowstone stuff?
No, that's reining.
Okay, so what is it?
So it's basically, well, you're thinking of roping too, but team penning's like, long story short, you're chasing around a bunch of cattle basically. You got 30 head of cattle. They're all numbered 0 through 9. They're on one end of the arena. You got a team of 3. You cross the foul line. They call out cattle number 4. You got to go get all 3 of the number 4s and go pin them in the end of the arena at a pin in under 60 seconds without any of the other 27 head of cattle crossing the line.
All right, so you were fairly decent at that?
Yeah, I did it all my life. I've got five World Show titles. Rode in the Calgary Stampede in Canada. That's all I did. I was homeschooled basically. I went to school, but I was basically homeschooled. Traveled every single day.
How do I not know this?
Well, I don't really talk about it that much, but I think I was by the time I was 10. I've been to 41 states, competing, traveling. So, that's a background of me. I rode in front of the PBR finals in Las Vegas in front of 85,000 people. We had our top 10 there, and we actually ended up winning that event, and that was crazy to be in front of 85,000 people and, chase around a bunch of cattle. So, it was crazy. I was 9 years old at that time.
So you've been groomed for traveling and under pressure and having very expensive things where things are always going wrong and adjusting on the fly. I mean, like my girlfriend's a very serious barrel racer, and has been and travels all over and all that. So I kind of get the horse thing. And if you can handle horses, it's like you could go out to your boat. It'd be like if you went out to your boat at any morning and the motor was just missing. And it was like, the motor just decided to leave. Like that could happen at any point with the horse. And then it's not like you can get a new boat. It's like, oh, well, this is my boat and it's the only boat I have. So I guess I'm just not fishing today. So you've dealt with stuff that's way more stressful than bass fishing for your whole life.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, just that, and that, like, I feel like that's what helps me the most. Like going into a top 10, the final day, you know, I'm just doing my thing. There's nothing to it. And so for instance, at Rayburn, the first day I was like boat 80, and I was like one of the last guys to put in. They were already calling out numbers, and my co-angler backed me in. I started the motor. It's like, whoa, roll. And then it finally started, and I was like, something ain't right, dude. So I started it again. I was like, dude, there's something bad wrong with this motor. And I'm like, well, crap. So I called Joe at Mercury. He was like, hey, bring it over here to the trailer. And I loaded it back up real quick, drove it over to the trailer, pulled the cowl off of it. He hooked the computer up to it, and it was a little bitty sensor that popped loose. And I was like, oh, he plugged it back in, you're good to go. Threw the cowl back on it, went and dumped it, and I think I was idling up when they was calling my boat number out. So, there's just certain things you can't control. Like, how did I know that was going to happen? You just gotta stay focused. Even if I would have missed it by 30 minutes or an hour, I mean, I still wouldn't have let it get to me. Because little things like that can ruin your whole day, your whole outcome. Or pulling up to what you think in your mind is your best hole, and there's 3 boats sitting on it first day of the tournament, and then like your brain's shot. But you got to know how to adapt. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. Maybe I can come back to it at noon. There'll be nobody there, and I can catch them behind all those guys, or whatever. Or I'm going to go fish new water and break down another section of the lake that I hadn't even been to, and you could win the tournament there doing that. So, I do feel like that really, my younger career riding horses, it's kind of led me up to this pressure-wise, traveling for sure, because, there's so many miles of traveling we do, and 50,000 miles a year, and being by yourself, all this stuff leads up to it. There's a lot of sacrifices, a lot of commitments, and you got to have the support group in your back pocket, like we all do. Our families, our sponsors, we definitely couldn't do it without them. But like I said again, I feel like that's really what's kind of prepared me, and I've kind of like noticed that in the last couple months, really, going into a top 10 or whatever, and just being cool. Like usually I'm crapping my pants, scared to death.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't even phase you.
It's just another day. It's just like, we all got a job to do. Still our goals are the same, try to go win, but like I said, you got to control what you can control.
2023, you have the Bassmaster Classic, but you also finished 4th in the Toyota Series Northern Division. We talked about your kind of affinity for up north and how much time you spent there. Potomac River, 5th place, Lake Champlain, 44th place, and St. Lawrence River, 10th place. You actually, which is very hard to do, you cash a check in all 3 of those events and finish 4th, which garnered you an invitation to the revamped MLF Pro Circuit, which is now the Invitationals. So really what your options are is Invitationals, all 9 opens. Invitationals are all 9 opens. Those are your options for 2023, and you're going Invitationals.
Yeah, so I'm going to harp on this for a minute. The end goal for me, of course, is the Bassmaster Elites. Once you experience that Bassmaster Classic, there's nothing like it. There's not one championship that's anywhere relevantly close to the Bassmaster Classic. When you're behind the stage, when you're fishing in it, all the things that lead up to it. It's the greatest bass fishing tournament on the face of this earth. I do not care what anybody says. So here's why I'm doing this. I'm going to fish the Invitationals and 6 to 9 Toyotas. I'm doing that because I went out and qualified for the revamped Pro Circuit, quote unquote Invitationals. And, for me, I feel like I accomplished my goal because, I set a quest beginning of this year in 2022 to qualify for a professional league. So what I'm saying is I'm going to fish the Invitationals, see how it goes. I may like it. I may hate it, but here's the thing. The Bassmaster Opens are always there. I can always go back and fish the Bassmaster Opens. I can't always go back and fish the invitationals. So, that's my harp on it. And we was talking earlier, me and Matt, I love bass fishing. I don't hate MLF. I don't hate bass. I'm just a guy.
You just want
if
to
it
fish.
if it was a perfect world, dude, I'd fish both of them. I'd fish all 9 opens and all the invitationals, Toyotas, dude. I'd fish 30 tournaments if I could. And just because I love the sport, I love the competition. I love being out there. I love chasing those bass, traveling all across the country. But yeah, so that that's what I'm doing. Of course, like I said, my end goal could be in 3 years, could be in 10 years, could be in 2 years, 5 years, whatever, is the Bassmaster Elites.
Sponsorship wise, it seems like you've done a really good job of transferring collegiate success and what you've done outside the following year. We see some guys who, they've got their year and then they move on, but it seems like you looking into advance have developed some lasting relationships with companies.
Yeah. Dude, the relationship I have with my sponsors, not just one over the other, but like just all of them, I feel like I have the tightest group of sponsorship organizations, companies that, are like family. You could call these guys at midnight. You could call them at 6 a.m, anytime, and they're going to answer you. Strike King and Lose, Brubaker. There's so many guys over there that I could call anytime, not just talking fishing wise, if I need life help, something on the house or a carpet, anything, you could call these guys. And that's something special. That's instead of just, working for a company like, all right, well, I got to do 3 social media posts a month, whatever. I hate this. And it's easier for, and this is for, the younger guys too that watch this on BTL, to have a sponsor. You got to love what the sponsor has product wise. If you don't love the product, you're going to be a terrible representative for that company. And I think that's where you see a lot of guys struggle. That's where you see a lot of guys, bouncing around sponsorships because they hate what they're doing. If you don't like putting social media posts on a Strike King 6XD, or, if you don't like the 6XD, you're not going to be good at it. You're not going to want to post. You're not going to want to share these little tips to, social media that might help guys catch more fish. And, I feel like for me, and growing further into the sport, further into my future and my career, I'm looking for companies that I love their product.
I've told a story before about how we kind of met at a random hotel, and I thought you were like 30 years old and like, you're doing the same thing as me, and then you're like, no, dude, I'm 19. Yeah. And I was like, okay. But then after that, I saw you at ICAST, at Bassmaster Classic, at outdoor events. This was before you were the college bracket champion, before you were doing all of this stuff. You grinded really hard. Like, I'd always see you in either like the Blazer booth or the Sea Clear Power booth or a number, and you were always there talking to people who they didn't know who you were. You were just there working the show for your sponsors, and like every single day, like you were always in the stuff, which I think is really underrated, because now they'll see you at an ICAST or at an event or at a show. Well, yeah, that's Tristan McCormick. Look what he's done. He's done this. He's won. He's got the 2 classics now. But I think it's key for the listeners, for the younger, if there's younger people listening, like you were doing that, like you were laying the groundwork for that long before the success came on the water like it has over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and like you just said, you got to get your feet wet before you jump, face first into the water. Working the shows growing up, like I said before, anybody really knew who I was. And it goes back to what I said. You got to love the product to go work those shows. I don't care if there's 5,000 people in that show, nobody knows me. But I'm going to try to sell something to somebody, and I might sell 100, I might not sell anything. But talking to the people just about the product, whether it's a Sea Clear or a boat manufacturer, whatever, reels, rods, you've got to love what you represent. And I mean, I'm going to harp on that over and over and over. It's not just for the sticker on the side of your boat or on your jersey. It's doing what you love and doing what you love to do with a product that you love. And that was a lot of words right there.
No, that's really important stuff. Right, that's something that there's people out here go, well, how do I get to that point? There's so much. It's like an iceberg, right? There's so much stuff. Very rarely in the sport do you see someone go, at the top, right? There has to be a foundation for lasting because there's so many uncontrollable variables in bass fishing. Like you can have 2 or 3 good tournaments. You could make it classic. You could win an open. You could win a Toyota series. But in order to have longevity and lasting, like there's no one in the sport that hasn't gone through challenges. And if you just jump onto the scene and expect to be right at the top without building the foundation, dude, you're gone after a bad year because you don't have the backing and the support and the knowledge and experience to survive.
Yeah. So I'll go back to the show side of things and the working side. So if anybody has ever watched, Matt, you probably have, Kevin Van Dam at like a show, the whole entire time there's a camera in his face shooting videos on his jerk baits or whatever bait. He hates doing those. But you know what? He's got to do them because he loves his product. And, what if it's Kevin Van Dam, but, like you were saying, you might go have a bad year, but the companies will look at what you've done for them. The companies will look at, well, Tristan come and worked yada yada shows. He was here, he was there. He done a lot for our company. And in the sport of bass fishing, it's not all about catching fish. If you're going to make a career out of this, it's not about, you got to win every tournament. Yeah, that's the icing on top of the cake. But I always say, and I learned this from Cody Meyer, he says, and I will never, ever, ever, ever forget it. He said, Tristan, the sport of bass fishing is 80-20. 20% fishing, 80% business. And for the younger generation, that's what you got to get through your head. You got to represent your companies. You got to go work. Yeah, a lot of guys might not like it going to work shows, but you have to because that's your sacrifice. That's your commitment to these companies. And that's why you're there, to represent Strike King or, to go represent Lewis or a boat manufacturer. That's why you're there, is to sell their product, to grow their name. And, you can grow your name there with them, like me. I'm growing my name with Strike King and Lewis. So that's the biggest thing I can harp on.
All right, we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, I've got Ken Duke coming on the show tomorrow. Ken Duke does not believe in momentum. Statistically, he does not believe that just because you won a tournament means you're going to catch him the next tournament and that confidence and high will ride on to the next one. I'm 99% sure he doesn't. I believe, because I've had arguments with him like multiple times on the show. You were a guy we just talked about in the first segment before we went to break. You had everything on the plate in front of you, and you went dunk, 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 dunk. And there had to be some momentum involved there, didn't there, Tristan?
For sure.
All right. We'll talk about that when we come back. BTL on a Tuesday with Tristan McCormick. We'll be back right after this. Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronic setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com.
The new Android series is the peak of the Denali lineup and offers the ultimate Denali experience. The Android series features 36-ton multi-directional graphite combined with interlock blank technology for added strength. Each rod is outfitted with Royal titanium guides that will not fail. The blank is fitted into an easy-touch, soft-feel EVA foam grip with exposed blank reel seat. This all allows the Android to transmit every movement of your bait and even the most subtle bites. The Android series is the finest rod Denali has ever made and offers an angler the ultimate fishing experience with a limited lifetime warranty. See the full lineup of Android rods at DenaliRods.com. Vibrating jigs are a great choice for any time of year, and the Kamikaze Swim-On is a perfect match for any vibrating jig. Two sizes and the unique tail design gives it a bait fish profile and a great swimming action for realism. There are 17 colors. See them all at bigbitebaits.com. The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
All right, welcome back. Final segment of BTL. I haven't even mentioned, didn't you also get engaged this summer?
Yeah. Yeah, crazy year.
And you're 24 now?
Yeah.
Old and wise at 24.
Old and wise, baby.
Dude, that's a hell of a year. I feel like you'll look back on this year in like 20, 30 years and be like, dude, 2022 was a freaking year, man.
Yeah, it was a banger.
I mean, who knows? Maybe you might like win a classic and well, you can't win a championship this year. You could win you're not fishing. You could win a classic and an angler of the year this year.
Be crazy.
That'd be a heck of a thing to do. All right, let's talk momentum. Back to back. You went Hartwell, won at Hartwell, went to Sam Rayburn, almost won at Sam Rayburn, went to the Toyota Championship, 20 bagger on Gunnersville day one. Not so good on day two, but that happens. It happened to like 90% of the guys who had 20 pounds. What was the deal with that, by the way? Like, how did so many of the guys in the top 10 just come in with like one or two on the second day?
I think a lot of us were doing kind of the same thing. It was a gamble, but I mean, back like you were saying, it's a championship. Why not gamble? There was $200,000+ on the line. You know, I'm not going to go in that tournament and be like, oh, you know, let's try to cut a check here. You know, going in that tournament, it was one objective, just like the classic, and that's win. But yeah, I don't know, dude. I got set back to reality real quick. But you know, like I said, it's part of it.
Momentum wise, though, I mean, did you feel it? Were you feeling it? Did you know that you were going to go out and catch him because you had caught him at the previous lake? Did you feel the momentum coursing through your veins with every cast?
You know, I didn't know I was going to catch him in that Gunnersville tournament, but, you know, let's back up to Hartwell. I won there, and going into Rayburn, I've already got a win underneath my belt. So I was like, let's go gamble. Let's go do what you love to do. Let's just go fishing. I mean, dude, I'm pretty sure I talked to you at Rayburn. I got like 3 keeper bites a day. But, it's everyone says, and I think there's a lot of momentum in it, but I think the biggest reasoning why guys go on a boom, 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 boom stretch, do really good, it's because they're fishing free. Because all your brain cells are clicking. You're making the right calls, the right adjustments, the right bait changes, the right area changes. And momentum is, like I'm saying, I think it's definitely a thing, but the biggest thing is, like I just said, everything's clicking. You're rolling, you're doing everything you can, and it's working. So, I mean, that's my take on it. I don't know what a lot of guys think about it. I mean, all you hear Mercer say is momentum. I mean, you look at Brandon Lester. He won the first Open. He freed him up all year in the elites. He's already going to the Classic, done. Mm-hmm. Let's go in. And he gets second. He almost wins Angler of the Year to Paul. So I think that's definitely a thing. And same way with Christie, he won the Classic in 2022. Well, at Chickamauga, he goes and wins it. So I mean, it frees you up to go fishing, to not have to worry about, well, dude, if we don't get above the top 40, we're done in Angler of the Year, or we're out of the Elite Series. You know what I mean? You start thinking stuff like that. Like,
that's not fun.
No, it's not fun at all.
I had fun like 3 days this year, and it was the last 3 days of the year. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I did not enjoy the first 7. Like, I mean, it was just like a lot of self-hate and poor inward reflection on myself. Like, I mean, I let it affect me. Then I started pushing, and then, you lose a fish, and then you go to like abject complacency, where you're like, well, of course I lost the big fish. I've lost every damn big fish I've hooked this year. And then you end up where we, meet each other at the boat dock, and it's almost like a joke when you're like, do you got him? And I'm like, heck no, I don't have him. I haven't had him all freaking year. But then it turns around, and you're like literally that little button that goes like, that was easy. Like, I got off the water at Hartwell, and I was like, damn, I felt like 5th place was like a really bad day after the first day. And I just so happened to see you on the water the first day, and I had like 15 and change and was feeling really good about myself early in the day. And, we roll up on literally the same point, which I never freaking caught when they're in the tournament, which really pissed me off, because I thought that was going to be, that was like a hole. They were there. There were some there in practice, but I think maybe there were 3 or 4 of us running it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got him? And you're like, oh, man, right at 16. And I'm looking at my co-angler, I'm like, crap, we've talked to one guy, and I'm already in second. But I enjoyed that day. Like, I lost one that day, no big deal. Like, I mean, I enjoyed that day. I enjoyed the second day. I enjoyed Rayburn. Like, I had fun, and guess what? I cashed checks there because I was out of the points. I had nothing that didn't even matter.
Looking back, you might say the same thing, Matt. And you've experienced the Opens, and for me, I haven't. This is my first year. Looking back at the beginning of the season, I know that I pushed myself way too hard. Meaning that, if I have one bad tournament, I'm screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Which is 1,000% the case.
Yeah.
But, in your mind, like we were saying, the fish free, the fun days, who cares if you lose a 3-pounder on Hartwell? We knew we was going to get more 3-pound bites. And it's no big deal. But, looking back at the first couple tournaments a year, I mean, dude, I was in like 100-something place, like the first 3 right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, gosh, damn it, But looking back, I wish I would have approached that differently. Made some, I don't even know, different calls, but just relaxed a little more, have fun.
But you have to go through that to know that, don't you? You have to go through it tense and make the mistakes and make it and then have the success and then have the wherewithal to look back.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like everything you do next year, you'll look like, if you're growing as an angler, you should look back on everything in the past and go, I wish I knew now what I knew then. And I can't believe I made, even in tournaments where you make good decisions, that's growing as an angler. I think you're in trouble as an angler when you look back and you're like, damn, I was really good 10 years ago, or I was really good 3 years ago and I'm not good now. Like, if you look back and don't go, what the heck was I thinking?
Yeah.
That means you're not growing, in my opinion. Do you agree?
I agree 1,000%. And like you said, I had to learn that the hard way, what I learned in the first couple tournaments. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. And, like you said, I could look back on it when I go fish the Opens next year, or whenever I do to try to go qualify for the elites. I can look back and be like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go have fun, and I'm going to go lay everything out there. And if it happens, it happens. And I'm going to go have fun. That's the biggest motto for me is, 1, control what you can control, what's in your circle, and 2, have fun. Because, one thing, who knows how long we're going to be able to do this, something could happen to me today and or whatever, so every day on the water, I feel like is got to be enjoyable and fun because we're doing what we love to do. Back to what we were saying earlier, we love traveling across the country, seeing new places, catching fish, and that's a big thing, I think.
That's good stuff. Hey, I want to end this. Like, obviously, everyone talks about your hair and stuff, just like everyone talks about Terry Scroggins being able to cook and you know what I mean? Like, it's a thing. But I think I have 2 that maybe you have not come across yet, as far as who you look like or the hair or anything, because I think you've heard it all, right? Like, who do you most often get compared to?
The caveman.
Yeah. This is before your time. Hi, I'm Marty Stouffer, and welcome to Wild America. Do you remember that on PBS with the 2 rams that would be, and then the music would come on? Like, as a young child, that would get me jacked up. I'd be like running around the living room, like headbutting the couch and stuff. Like when the Wild America music started. Hi, I'm Marty Stouffer, and today we're in the Rocky Mountains.
Oh gosh.
There it is, right there.
Yep.
That's pretty good, right there, is it not?
Pretty stout.
Have you heard a Marty Stouffer comparison before?
I have not.
That's a new one. This one you probably have, and I don't know why the screen is so big, but it is. You big Little House on the Prairie fan?
Oh yeah.
Have you gotten this comparison to Michael Landon before?
I have.
Look at this one. Look at this one. There it is. I mean, that's a pretty good one, is it not?
I mean, hey, if I look like that when I'm 50, I'll take it.
Yeah. So this might seem little bit. I got to pull your website up then, because you also have a full-on website. So if I pull your website up, this makes a lot more sense then. Your lead photo on your website cracks me up. You look like you're very... There it is, right there.
Yep, that's her.
But, where's your gallery? There was one that was exactly like Michael Landon. I mean, it was so close to Michael Landon, it was joking. But, all right, I wanted to share those because every time I see you, I think Marty Stouffer's Wild America with the trumpet playing and the 2 rams banging into each other. I can't help it. It's like ingrained into my head. Same thing as like in Fisherman TV. Yep. You know, we now go to Lake of the Woods. I've been working on getting, his name's Barry Brulin, I believe, who does the voice of In Fisherman. I've been trying to work on getting him on the show. So like that's seared into my childhood. And then also Midwest Outdoors because I grew up in Illinois.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. You got anything else you want to get in here, Tristan, before we close it?
No, I think we hit on some good stuff, man. You know, there's some good things out there for the younger generation. And No, I liked it. It was fun.
It's good stuff. Thank you for jumping on. We've had some extended versions of BTL this week, and I'm sure we're probably going to go long with Ken Duke tomorrow. Have not had him on in a couple months. We'll ask him about the momentum thing. I'm more with Tristan on this one. I don't care what the numbers say. There is such a thing as momentum. You rode it high and rode it well for the duration of the season, and we will see you when the invitationals kick off, and then also at the Bassmaster Classic in 2023. Tristan McCormick, thank you for jumping on BTL.
Thanks a lot, brother. Enjoyed it.
We'll be back. Ken Duke tomorrow. Uncle Frank on Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow.